And so another thing I want to add to that about the allotted time that God gives us to do what he wants, what he tells us to do, which is, again, the promise, the blessing is way ahead in advance of his appointed time for it, right? But he gives us a certain allotted time to do what he needs us to do, right? And it's way ahead in advance before the promise. And he gives us that grace because he knows that we're going to be like a Moses. We're going to go through, oh, did God really say this? Or well, I can't speak, I stutter, you know what I mean? Then he had to send Aaron, right? Or think about, Sarah and Abraham. They went through all of that stuff, trying to believe that they were still going to have a baby, or they was old, right? I think about Zachariah and Elizabeth with Zachariah couldn't speak at a certain point because he didn't believe, that they was going to have a baby or whatever. And so just all of these things that he knows his children are going to go through. When he tells us to do something, God already knows that we're going to go through all of these different hangups in this turmoil within, before we end up finally doing what he tells us to do, right? And so God has an appointed time, but he gives us an allotted time, which is way beforehand, because he knows by the time we get to the thing to do what he wants us to do, it'll allot us that time frame so that what he's doing won't be delayed, right? And so I hope I'm saying that right, but this is what the woman was saying. And so basically, moral of the story of what I'm saying, adding to that, is that now when we finally catch up and decide to do what God tells us to do after all of the hangups and all of the turmoil within, right? God was already waiting for us, right? So it's like once we finally get through all of that, the hangups, the turmoil within, and we finally decide to take the first step to do what God told us to do, we are faced with an open door. And so it's like knocking on a door and somebody just opening it, right? And so it was that easy. It's like your helpers are waiting at the end of your obedience, right? And so all of this time you took, and that's why I said God gives us an allotted time, because he knows that we're going to deal with all of these things, discouragement, all of that. And so he gives us an allotted time way before he wants the promise to happen, because he knows we're going to go through these cycles of unbelief and this and that. Things are going to happen in life to throw us off. But at the end of it all, when we finally step